Friends, hello and welcome back. I'm just so thankful that you're here. Today we're focusing on the GED RLA, or Reasoning Through Language Arts, and the HiSET Writing Test. Now, as we're going through this, we're actually really focusing on the grammar, okay? Because on both of these tests, you have to look at articles and analyze, how was this article written? Now, friends, if you're new here, click subscribe and welcome, because this is exactly where you need to be if you're working on your GED or HiSET. And of course, friends, welcome back. I'm just so thankful that you are so purely persistent. So friends, let's get started. So when you read the directions for the test, you'll see that it says to actually read the articles. But my friends, remember, this part is not dealing with comprehension. This part is really dealing with the grammar, with the writing. So I actually recommend you don't read the entire part. So here's what I recommend. When you have the article, just read a little bit of each paragraph. So here we have the idea of resource conservation is not new, nor does it involve humans. The creation of SPRs in salt caverns found deep undergrounds involves tedious process. So now I'm just kind of getting the gist of it. And let's look at the rest of it. Salt caverns offer several advantages for the storage of petroleum. Besides their initial cost, SPRs do have some other challenges. To conclude, they represent a secure, efficient, and affordable alternative. And friends, this comes from HiSET Free Practice Test 8, which they gave me permission to use. However, if you're taking the GED, this is totally going to work for you and totally prepare you for that test. Question number 1 here. Choose a suitable transitional phrase to be placed before the indicated sentence in paragraph 1. Okay, so let's read the sentence before the highlighted sentences. So here it says, other savvy savers like birds and squirrels tuck nuts and seeds into their nests, bury them in the ground, or wedge them into tree stacks. These huge reserves of petroleum in salt caverns go by the name of strategic petroleum reserves. So you can see by reading both of those sentences, the highlighted one as well as the one before it, they don't flow. We need something that's going to connect the two. So the first sentence really talked about nature, right? The squirrels, birds, that sort of thing, and how they have their own reserves, right? And then the second paragraph, or the second sentence, really talked about the huge petroleum reserves. So how can we combine the nature preserves and the petroleum reserves and make it so that they're a little bit more cohesive? So A says, so some animals and birds are, by nature, inclined to gather and save food resources for future use. Yes, that includes the nature, but does it tie into the petroleum or lead us into the petroleum? Not so much. This process may remind you of the ant from Aesop's fable, who works hard to save grains for winter. Again, that's a great story, but it doesn't really tie us into the petroleum reserves. It's not a good transition. C, akin to nature's age-old practices of conserving resources is the storage of petroleum in salt caverns for the use in emergencies. There we go. We talk a little bit about nature, and then we tie it in with the petroleum salt cavern reserves, right? So let's look at D and just see how that one is. Petroleum is stored in salt caverns so that we can access and exchange the stored oil easily during supply cuts and emergencies. Again, that doesn't tie them together. So here our answer is going to be C. Number 2, choose the correct idiom that can replace the underlined phrase. Okay, idioms. What are idioms? Now, if you're a native English speaker, you're in luck because idioms are used all the time. If you are not a native English speaker, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging for you because the words don't exactly mean what the phrase says. For example, raining cats and dogs. If you take that literally, cats and dogs would be falling from the sky, right? But that's not what it means at all, right? Raining cats and dogs means that it's raining very hard. It's raining heavily. What's underlined, right? So it involves a tedious process. What does tedious mean? Oh, it means like a dreadful, a long, a challenging process, right? So let's take a look at these. Is out of hand. Does that relate to a long, tedious process? No, when I think of something that's out of hand, I feel like it's gone out of control. It's not really a tedious process. So A is not our answer. B, a long haul. All right, guys, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm going to work on my GED, work on my HiSET as long as it takes, right? So think about that. Is getting your HiSET or GED a long, tedious process? Yes. Are you in it for the long haul? Yes. Okay, so comment down below, friends, and tell me, I am in this for the long haul. I'm in this getting my GED, my HiSET for the long haul. Use that idiom. Type it in the chat down below, and that lets me know that you're here and that you're completely committed or you are purely persistent, right? Type it in the chat. Okay, C is like flying in the face of danger. What does that mean? That means that you feel like you're invincible, right? Your danger doesn't scare you. You can do all these things despite the danger. Does that mean a tedious process? No. C, getting blood out of stone. So yes, getting blood out of stone is a challenging thing, right? But it's kind of impossible, right? You can't really get blood out of stone. So that's definitely not going to be the answer. So our answer here is B, a long haul. Again, if you haven't already, type in the chat and tell me that you're here for the long haul, getting your HiSET or GED, the long haul. Number 3. So I like to read the entire sentence. So I'm going to start right here with the. The goal is to prevent brine leakage, contaminate groundwater, or damage to the salt formation itself. Okay, so right here we have a list, and we want to make sure that we're following parallel structure so that it sort of all aligns together. So we've got a really good clue here, and that is going to be brine leakage. Okay, so brine, I think about like you're brining a turkey, right? So that's like the water that is sort of surrounding the turkey, and then it's kind of leaking, right? So we have here brine, which is the water, and then leakage, the thing that's happening. So that's going to be our clue as we look at the other ones. So let's really just focus on contaminate groundwater. B, brine leakage contaminates groundwater. Notice how those are not consistent. So we have brine leakage contaminates groundwater. So brine is just your standard verb, whereas contaminates has that ES. And we're not looking for that ES because we want to be consistent with the brine leakage. So that's not going to be it. And then notice here how C has ED, contaminated groundwater. But we just have brine leakage. Contaminated groundwater? No. Okay, looks like we forgot A. Let's look at A. Contaminate groundwater. So that one, we're being consistent with the verb. So now we've just broken it down. We've gotten rid of B and C, and now we're just looking at A and D. So looking back to brine leakage, brine is going to be the noun, right? So here's the noun, and leakage is going to be the verb. But look at here, we have contaminate is the verb, and groundwater is the noun. Let's look here at D. We have groundwater, which is the noun, and contamination, which is the verb. Okay, so we want to be consistent, right? So brine leakage goes noun, verb, and we want to be consistent. So we're going to go with D, noun, verb, groundwater, contamination. And that, my friend, is the answer D. It's definitely a trickier one, but look at the clues in the sentence or even in the sentence before, and that's really going to help you out. Number 4, makes SPRs a strategic measure. So what we're looking at is that make, right? So we have makes, make, can make, and has made. So let's do that little scavenger hunt and see if we can figure out if there's anything else, another just simple verb that is like make. All right, so I'm looking through that sentence. Moreover, their high storage capacity and easy availability during emergencies. That doesn't really give us a clue. Let's look at the sentence above that. They make salt caverns. That's our clue. They make. So we want to be consistent with our verbs. So we're going to say they make, and look at this. We have make right here in B. Make SPRs a strategic measure. So again, look at the sentence or the sentence before and see if you can find the clue on how the verb is supposed to be. Number 5, we're actually looking at a couple different things on number 5. The first is salt caverns. So notice how salt caverns is capitalized, it's not capitalized. Is that a proper noun? No, it is not a proper noun, and therefore it needs to be lowercase. The only one that's lowercase is going to be C. However, I want to go into a little bit more, because let's say there was another one that was lowercase, and there's another big thing that we have here in this paragraph or in this question, and that is going to be the so. So notice here in A, we have so, comma, and then here we just have a plain so, we have a comma so, and we have a semicolon so, comma. So I want to go over this with you. So when we have two different sentences, we can actually combine them together. And there's numerous ways that we can combine them together. So we could put a semicolon, we could do a comma fanboy, we could do a period, we could turn one into a dependent clause, so many different ways that we can do this. But what they're doing here is they're combining the two sentences together with so, okay? So what we need to do when we combine two sentences together is you have to have a subject, a verb, and a complete thought for both the first half and the second half, and we do. Okay, so salt caverns are not widely available, subject, verb, complete thought. Finding suitable locations for SPRs can be difficult, subject, verb, complete thought. So they both have all of them. So if we're going to use so, then we have to go comma fanboys. So fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet. So we need to put a comma and then one of those words. So let's look here at A. So it says so, comma. That's not what we want, right? We want it to be comma so, comma fanboys, okay? B has no comma at all. Skull and crossbones, that, my friends, is a prime example of a run-on sentences, just sticking two sentences together, not okay. All right, C, which we already know is the answer, but we're going over this a little bit more detailed, has that comma fanboy. So it has complete sentence, comma, so, complete sentence. And that, friends, works as a complete sentence. So C definitely is the answer. But let's look at D. We have comma, or no, we have semicolon, so, comma. And with the semicolon, it's perfect. We love semicolons. Semicolons make you look really smart. But then you're not looking so smart if you put that as your answer, because then you say so, comma. And so is not going to be one of those conjunction words that you could use. You could use like therefore or however, although, and then put a comma, but so, it doesn't really work. And so, my friends, C is the answer. And friends, we made it to the end! Yahoo! I actually really like going over grammar. My 7th grade self would have thought that that's like the craziest thing. But I really like to go over grammar because there's some really good solid rules that we can follow every time, just like we did in the last question that we did. But it takes a little bit of practice. So definitely make sure that you watch some of my other writing videos. And my friends, believe in yourself. You can do this. It just takes a little bit of practice, but you've got this. I believe in you. Believe in yourself too. Be purely persistent. Don't forget about those idioms, right? Purely persistent actually is kind of an idiom. But friends, I believe in you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.